So if I had to guess, the question that I get asked probably the most often, especially when I post a post-processing video of some kind, is about this guy. People are constantly asking me what tablet I use, how I like it, how I set it up. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about it. So this is a Wacom Intuos Medium Pro. If you've never used a pen tablet, they are absolutely incredible for photo editing because you get to use a stylus and it is just so much more intuitive to edit, especially with layer masks, dodging and burning, painting in effects. It's just absolutely amazing. So I got this probably about 3 years ago or so. I noticed that all of the photographers that I really admired the way they post-processed, they all used this. And so that kind of convinced me to give it a try. There's definitely a learning curve for getting decent, getting proficient at these. When you first start using it, you are very tempted to use your mouse for a lot of stuff. For example, when you're using sliders in Lightroom or whatnot, these can be a little bit finicky and kind of hard to control, and it's just kind of hard to wrap your mind around the fact that there's no scrolling like you would with a mouse. So what I did when I first started learning this and when I first started working with it was I took my mouse, I disconnected it from my computer and put it in a drawer. And that was the best thing that I ever could have done because it forced me to get good at this. I use my Wacom tablet now for absolutely everything. Well, I guess I do have a mouse, but I don't think it's not even on. The batteries are dead. I'm not sure that it's even connected to my computer because I never use it for anything. I use my Wacom tablet for surfing the web. I use it for audio editing and video editing. I use it for everything. The only thing that it's really not any good for is for gaming, which I don't honestly have time to do. So anyway, so that doesn't matter. But that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody when they first get one of these is just force themselves to use it for everything. And it's amazing how much dexterity you'll gain. So what are the main benefits of a pen tablet? Well, first of all, when you're using a mouse, you're using all the big muscles in your wrist to try to control these really fine, minute movements. And you're having to move the weight of this mouse around, which means that it can be jumpy and kind of skippy and not smooth at all. But when you're using a pen on a tablet, you're using fine motor skills that we've all been developing ever since we were kids in elementary school, learning to write. You have so much fine motor skill in how precise you can be. Plus, pen tablets are pressure sensitive. So if you set Photoshop or Lightroom up for it, as you push harder on your adjustment or you press harder with your pen, it increases the opacity of what you're doing. So that gives you another element of control. It's gotten to the point now where I just physically can't use a mouse. I feel very uncoordinated, let's say, with a mouse. I just can't use them at all anymore. And for that reason, even when I travel, I have a little travel tablet that I take with me when I'm, teaching post-processing on workshops or giving presentations or whatnot, because just the act of using a tablet is so much better, even with a cheap, small little Bluetooth tablet like this one. Plus, this travels pretty well because it's flat, fits in the bag. So people often ask me how I set mine up, and the answer is probably going to be pretty disappointing. All of these programmable buttons that you have here, I never use any of them. The only one I will use is the scrolling mouse. So like, for example, if I'm on a web page or whatever, I can scroll with this, and that's typically how I scroll. This is the only thing that I ever use because I spend most of my time using hotkeys when I'm in Lightroom or Photoshop. At some point, I'll do a video on all the hotkeys and really useful shortcuts when you're editing in Photoshop. That's for another time. But one of the things that I have done is I've gotten one of the smallest little keyboards that I could find, because you'll notice how much space this takes up on my desk. If you have a big tablet next to a really big keyboard, it would feel like I couldn't really comfortably reach everything at the same time. I would either be typing way off to the side, or my tablet would have to be way off to the side, and I'd have to uncomfortably reach over to the right. So I've gone with a really small keyboard. That way they can both fit neatly in front of me, and I can reach these no problem. I can reach my tablet no problem. Sometimes when I'm editing, I will scoot it over and kind of center my tablet a little bit more. And when I'm mostly typing and writing emails, I'll slide this over so I can more comfortably reach all of that. But the biggest thing is that I got a small compact keyboard that I can easily put right next to my tablet so I can continue to do all my hotkeys. So really, I don't use any of the functions really on this side of the keyboard, which raises the point like, well, could you get a different tablet? And yeah, you probably could, but I think the most important things when choosing a tablet is the fact that you want one that is large enough that you can do really fine, detailed work. The larger this tablet is, the more resolution, in a sense, you have as far as those really fine motor skills. So when you're doing really fine, detailed work, the larger your tablet is, the easier that's going to be. The smaller the tablet is, the more difficult it's going to be, because this represents your screen. So from here to here, this represents my screen. The larger this is, it's just easier to, do those fine little details. I think more than any other accessory, especially like in my office area, I have a decent monitor, I have decent stuff, but more than anything else, the tablet has really revolutionized like how I post-process. It's just so much easier. You can set up the buttons on your pen. For example, this one is right-click. So this base one here is right-click. This one I have is undo as Control-Z. So if I quickly want to undo something, I just go boop and it undoes it. It's just so nice. You can also set it up to where the eraser tool is actually the eraser tool in Photoshop. So if I'm dodging and burning, rather than going E to switch over to the eraser tool, I can just switch my pen around and erase what I've done. It's just such an intuitive way of working that once you get used to it, it's impossible to go back. So if you've been on the fence about checking out a Wacom tablet or another type of tablet, I highly recommend it, because it's totally changed how I edit. And I feel like I'm a much better dodge and burner. I'm much better at dodging and burning than when I was using a mouse. Much more intuitive way of working. Just make sure that you get one that is large enough. It has pressure sensitivity. That stuff is really important. This is the Medium Pro. It's actually an older version, but I love it. I feel like it's a good size. Any bigger, and I feel like it would take up too much of the desk. Any smaller, and I wouldn't have those fine details. And if you're somebody that travels with a laptop a lot, you get used to one of these, check out these. This is just a Bluetooth connected Wacom tablet. It's nice for travel and stuff. All right, so that was just one of the questions that I get asked a lot, and I wanted to kind of address it. I don't really use any of the buttons, but I love it. Absolutely love it. I could never go back. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.